A penthouse in the heart of New York City. Rain tapping against the windows. A man, Daniel Hartwell, steps inside, his expensive suit soaked, his heart even heavier. For years, this home had been a tomb of silence. But today was different. Because today, for the first time since his wife died, he heard laughter. His son's laughter. And that sound, so pure, so alive, would change everything. That's exactly how Daniel Hartwell felt every time he stepped into his penthouse. Tall windows, polished floors, a view of New York City that cost more than most people make in a lifetime. But none of that mattered. Because ever since his wife, Emily, passed away, this place had become a museum of memories. And the quietest room of all. His son Liam's nursery. Daniel was a man who believed in solutions. If there was a problem, money could fix it. The best doctors, the best therapists, the best everything. But none of it worked. Because Liam, his sweet 3-year-old boy, had never taken a single step. The doctors said he could walk. His little legs were fine. But something inside him was stuck. Daniel had tried everything. Specialists, exercises, toys designed to encourage movement. But Liam just sat there, silent, watching, as if the world was too loud, too scary, too much. And Daniel, he buried himself in work. Because facing his son's pain meant facing his own. Then, one rainy afternoon, Daniel came home early. He stepped into the hallway, shaking water from his coat, when he heard something that made his heart stop. Laughter. Real, breathless, joyful laughter. From Liam. Daniel hadn't heard that sound in years. Not since Emily was alive. His hands trembled as he followed the noise to the living room. And what he saw there would change everything. There, lying on the floor, was Sophie, the new nanny. A young woman with kind eyes and a quiet strength. She was on her back, her legs in the air, and balanced on her feet. Liam, standing, laughing. His tiny hands stretched out like he was flying. And then, Liam did something Daniel had never seen before. He took a step, humbly, uncertain, but a step, then another, straight into his father's arms. Daniel caught him, holding him so tight he could feel Liam's heartbeat against his own. His eyes burned with tears as he looked at Sophie, the woman who had done in days what doctors couldn't in years. Sophie just smiled, not like an employee, like someone who understood. And when Daniel finally found his voice, all he could say was, "How?" Sophie's answer was simple. He didn't need fixing. He just needed to be seen. But what Daniel didn't know yet was that Sophie had her own pain, a loss so deep it shaped the way she loved. And the real reason she understood Liam so well. Daniel sat on the couch that night, watching Liam sleep. His son's chest rose and fell peacefully, something that hadn't happened in months without nightmares. And all because of her, Sophie. The next morning, Daniel found Sophie in the kitchen, humming as she made breakfast. Pancakes, Liam's favorite. She moved quietly, like someone used to being unseen. But Daniel needed answers. "How did you do it?" he asked. "The doctors said he might never walk." Sophie didn't look up. She just flipped a pancake and said, "Maybe because no one ever asked him why he wouldn't." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" Sophie finally turned, her dark eyes serious. Liam wasn't broken. He was scared. And when children are scared, they don't need experts. They need someone to sit with them in the dark until they're ready to come out. Daniel stared at her. "You talk like you've done this before." Sophie's hands stilled. And then quietly she said 2 words that changed everything. "I have." Her voice was barely above a whisper. His name was Ethan. He was 4 years old. And he didn't speak. Not a word. His parents thought he was being difficult. But I knew. He was just afraid. Sophie's fingers tightened around the spatula. I tried to tell them to slow down, to listen. But they didn't want to hear it. They fired me. Said I wasn't fixing him fast enough. She took a shaky breath. A year later, Ethan was gone. Car accident. They said he ran into the street without looking. But I knew the truth. He ran because no one ever taught him how to stay. Daniel felt like the floor had dropped beneath him. All this time he'd been throwing money at Liam's problem, when what his son needed was so much simpler. And so much harder. "I've been a terrible father," Daniel whispered. Sophie shook her head. "Oh, just a lost one." She handed him a plate of pancakes. "But you're here now. That's what matters." Daniel stood, but before he left, he turned back. Sophie, not just as Liam's nanny, as family. She studied him for a long moment. Then softly, "Only if you promise me one thing. Anything. Be present. Not just in the room but in his life. Every day. No matter how hard it gets." Daniel nodded. "I promise." The next morning, something remarkable happened in the Hartwell penthouse. Sunlight streamed through the windows. But that wasn't the miracle. The miracle was Daniel Hartwell, still in his pajamas at 9 a.m., sitting cross-legged on the playroom floor. Asterisk. For the first time in 3 years, Daniel wasn't rushing to the office. He wasn't checking his phone. He was simply there, watching as Liam stacked blocks with intense concentration, his little tongue poking out between his lips. Then it happened. Liam reached too far, the tower wobbled, and with a crash, he tumbled forward onto his hands. Daniel's fatherly instincts kicked in. He lunged forward to help, but stopped himself just in time. Because Liam was pushing himself up. Alone. Tears filled Daniel's eyes as he watched his son's determined face. Those tiny arms trembled, but Liam kept pushing until there. He was standing again. Sophie stood in the doorway, unnoticed. She didn't interrupt this moment between father and son. But when Daniel finally looked up and saw her, the words tumbled out. He got back up. On his own. Sophie smiled. They always do. When they know someone's there to cheer them on. Daniel wiped his eyes roughly. "I should have been here sooner." "But you're here now," Sophie reminded him. "That's what matters." Over the coming weeks, the penthouse transformed. The sterile white walls gained colorful finger paintings. The silent halls echoed with laughter and the pitter-patter of little feet. And Daniel, he kept his promise. He left work early. He read bedtime stories. He learned to kneel on the floor and see the world from 3 feet tall. And Sophie, she became more than a nanny. She became the glue that held their little family together. One evening, as Daniel tucked Liam into bed, his son did something extraordinary. Without prompting, Liam wrapped his small arms around Daniel's neck and whispered 2 words they'd both been waiting to hear. "Love you." In that moment, he understood what Sophie had known all along. Some things can't be. Daniel held his son close, breathing in the scent of baby shampoo and unconditional love. But some wounds only heal when we're brave enough to stay. Years later, when people asked billionaire Daniel Hartwell what his greatest achievement was, he wouldn't mention his companies or his fortune. He'd simply smile and point to a photo on his desk, a picture of 3 people laughing in Central Park, a businessman, a little boy riding piggyback, and the woman who taught them both how to love. Because in the end, the most important steps we take aren't measured in distance, but in the hearts we touch along the way. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe. And in the comments below, tell us, who in your life helped you take your most important first steps?